Hello and welcome back to the Interactive and Immersive HQ. My name is Marco. I'm a freelance TouchDesigner developer and master student in digital arts and creative technologies in Barcelona. And in this week's video, I'm going to show you how you can create this kind of mandala pattern here. Yeah, it's all based on a very simple instancing technique. And yeah, you can also get a lot of different patterns out of it very easily. So let me just show you here some examples. You can just change the type of pattern here and yeah, easily just play with some parameters to get some cool looking effects. And you can also make it really symmetrical like this one here. And it's very easy to change the colors as well. So I just have this connected to this color lovers picker here, which is also linked in the description. And yeah, I think you can get really cool and very fast results out of that. And here we also have some post effects. So this is actually using some mirrors here to make it symmetrical, but we can also switch to the original, which looks like that. I think that also looks nice, but yeah, with the mirrors, it gets an even more clean look to it. In general, I really like to play around with instancing, and I do it a lot because yeah, it's for me very easy to do like a kind of jam session in it. You know, just start with like some shape and well, add some instancing data to it and just play around with the parameters, change it up. And yeah, almost every time I come up with something that I really like. This time it's that. And yeah, I'm going to show you how to do it now. All right. Let's delete everything and start from scratch. So we actually, this time, let's just start with the render setup so that we see our progress. So just add a render top, camera, and also a light. That's the basics here. Behind the render, I just add an RGB key to get a black background and a null top, and we'll use that one here to display our creation. Okay, so let's start with a circle, SOP, and change the arc type to open arc so that we only get the outline here. And then I'm going to use a carve SOP. With this, you can cut out certain parts of the geometry. And I want to have only the upper right corner here. So let's set second U to 0.25. And after that, I'm going to add an extrude. Oh, and by the way, this will be our object that gets instanced. So then the extrude, we can maybe decrease the depth scale here also to 0.25. Yeah, what it does is just literally just extruding our geometry. You see here it's just a line, and here we can kind of extrude it. So set it to 0.25. And let's also already add a texture SOP so that we can apply material to that later. If we don't do it, we get an error. So yeah, we can just add this texture here and leave all the settings. And after that, add a null. So this will be our object for the first instancing network. So let's add a geometry. Or better said, let's connect the null here to the geometry. And let's take another branch off here, just by middle mouse clicking, and add a transform. And let's maybe also set the uniform scale here down to 0.25. And also add a null as a good practice here, in case we want to change anything later. And also plug it into a geometry. Okay. So, and these 3D objects here, we want to do instances from. Yeah, instancing is basically just making a lot of copies of your instance object or geometry on the GPU, and all these separate copies or instances, you can scale them, you can give them a different position, you can rotate them, and so on. And yeah, it's very efficient, all happening on the GPU. So you can even create like thousands of instances without a problem. Compared to just using like the copy SOP, it would just run on the GPU, and yeah, it would be very slow, and the performance would be not so good. So yeah, that's why we use instancing here. All right. So let's get into the geometry and turn on the instancing toggle here on both of them. So just go to the third tab here, instancing. And now we need instance operators, yeah, for the position and for the rotation now in our case. So we need to create these. And actually I want to instance these objects on a circle. And because we have a circle here already, let's just make another branch here of the transform and actually make a copy of it. And let's add some rotation. Actually, let's maybe just put the null first so we see what's going on, and reference it as an instancing operator. So let's take the first one for the first geometry, just here in the translate OP, and use P0, P1, and P2. And the same we do for the second null and geometry. Same, just use P1, P2, and P0. And well, what's happening now? Let's have a look in the 3D viewer here. So now we get, like I said, instances or copies out of this object here on each of the points of this circle here. So let me activate the viewer here, and you see this circle has 40 divisions and 41 points. So, and here you can see each blue spot is 1 point, and on each of these points, one instance of our quarter circle gets instanced. Okay. So let's start to animate it. We can use a favorite expression, abs time dot seconds, maybe times 7, to make it rotate. And also the same for here, abs time dot seconds times 0.5 to mix it up a little bit. And maybe let's also just add a minus here, so it's turning in the other direction. And let me close that viewer here again. And we can also just move the camera a little bit more back so that we see the whole thing here. Now let's create another instancing operator that we will use for the rotation here. And for that, we can use a patternCHOP. So here, that's the pattern. And well, now it is important that in general, when you use instancing, it's important that the number of points or the samples from each instancing operator is the same. So like you can see here, we have 41 points. And now we also need 41 samples for our CHOP here. Yeah. And well, you could even use, you can use tops, chops, sops, and probably even dets for instancing. But yeah, it's just always important that they have the same amount of data. All right, so how can we do it? Well, this is our source instancing operator, or let's say it, and it has 41 points, and we can also get that information by adding an info CHOP here and set the scope to number of points. And now you see, even when you change it here, yeah, the number of points is always now in this CHOP operator here. So we can just easily reference this as the length. So just activate the viewer here and drag and drop it to the length. And now you see we have 41 samples here. Perfect, that's what we need. Let's add a null here. And yeah, already connected to, can drag and drop it here as a rotate operator and use this as a rotate Z. And we also do it here on the GO2. Drag and drop it and use for rotate Z our channel here. Well, right now nothing is really happening. That's because we only have values between -1 and 1. And yeah, when you rotate something, you know, it's always 360 degree. So 1 degree is not a lot. So we can just change the amplitude here to 360. All right, like we can see now, there's already something happening. Let's maybe just put it on a ramp for now to get this more clean mandala look here. And we can also, next step, add some material. So we can just use a Fong material and drag and drop it onto the geometries and reference it as a material. And now I would like to give it some color, and that's where this color lovers picker component comes in. It's a free component you can find from the link in the description. So I'll just drag and drop it here. Then we can close the palette again and just add a null. Then we can drag and drop this null onto our material as a color map and maybe also as an emit map. And let's maybe also just change the emit parameters here to, I don't know, like 0.7 for now. Well, now you can already easily change the colors here. So I'll just, you know, choose whatever you like. And I'm just going to stick with this one here for now. Okay, and then let's actually keep working on the post effects. So we will insert some stuff here behind the render, and after that we will also work on the camera and the light a little bit to make it even more interesting. Okay, first thing, let's insert a level top here to brighten it up a little bit. And after that we can add some mirrors. Actually, just make 2, make a copy of it, and you can set one mirror to flip X. All right, and after that we connect them back together with a composite, which well, you can also play with the operators here. That also looks pretty cool, I think, but I want to use the add operation. And let's also put a switch behind that so that we can choose and connect that to the RGB key so that we can choose between our normal render and the mirrored version as well. So I'm just going to leave it to the mirrored version now. And now it's almost done already. We can just add some camera and light movement. So let's use this patternCHOP here to animate our camera. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's very easy. You can just create a circle SOP and use this as a path and turn off orient along path. And let's also set our camera. Let's actually do that in a 3D view. So now our camera is here. And can also activate this. So our camera is at 0, 0, 0, and we have set the circle as a path SOP. You see now it is, when we move the position here, it's just moving along this path. Okay, but I want to move the camera back, maybe like 8, and also a little bit up, maybe like 5, and set the look at to our geometry. So that way you can see it here now in the background. It always looks at the geometry, even though when it moves around. And we can also just increase the radius here. Maybe let's say to like 2.5. Also level it down a little bit. And we can do the same for the light. So we can also just use this as a path SOP here, turn off orient along path. And now we just need to animate this. And as you see, it's just a value between 0 and 1. So we can use an LFO chop to create a ramp. So just set the type to ramp and put the frequency down to something slow, 0.1 or 0.05. And use this as a reference for our position. So I just drag and drop it here and use chop reference. And same for the light. Give it a little bit interesting shadows as well, or lightning effects. And I'm going to show it to you again in 3D viewer. Yeah, now you can see the camera and the light are moving on that path. Plus their position, of course, that you put here in the operator. All right. What we can also do to make the movement a little bit more smooth, so you can just increase the divisions here offset of our path SOP to 360. And yeah, now the camera is just moving a little bit smoother. Okay. Now we can, you can choose any colors here that you like. And we can play around a little bit with the patterns here. So we can change the type here. Yeah, set it to sine or cosine. And you can even play around with the face here. You could also animate this. Triangle gives you also some interesting effects. This here is really cool as well, the bias. It's probably also cool to animate that very slowly. You could also do that with a ramp chop. Or you can set it to ramp to get this more clean look here. Or just to random. And you can also change the seed here to always get a little bit different effects out of it. Of course, here you could also just play around with, again, the scale. You could just scale it, or maybe change the rotation speed here. And yeah, there's really many possibilities. Of course, in the render, you can always increase the resolution if you have educational or commercial version. You can set the anti-alias here to make it look more smooth. And Yes, so that's what I really like to do. Just play around with instancing setups. Maybe also just for the understanding, I can show to you that we have two different ones here. Let me just deactivate that circle here. So Geo1 is just this part here, and Geo2 is the smaller parts. And yeah, like I said, you can play around with that here a lot. So just really try out some different parameters. Here's the rotation. You could also animate that, and so on. There's endless possibilities. All right, thanks for watching, and I hope you get into instancing and yeah, also create some cool visuals, which you can even connect to audio, for example.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you like our YouTube content, I highly recommend you check out the Interactive and Immersive HQ Pro. The HQ Pro is the only comprehensive educational resource and community for immersive design, TouchDesigner, and creative tech pros. In the HQ Pro trainings, we cover almost any topic you can think of, and we go way more in depth than we do in our YouTube tutorials. We have a private group where Matthew Reagan, myself, and our other industry veteran and pioneer teachers answer your questions every single day. If that sounds cool, click the link in the description to learn more. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more free TouchDesigner and immersive content.